Aloha, everyone. I'm Lynn Kawano. Continuing our series, Priced Out of Paradise. Joining us now is Cully Watson. He's head of DHHL, the Department of Hawaiian Home Lands. Thanks for joining us. So, Cully, it's been kind of remarkable when you look at the numbers in the last 10 years, how many keys you have given to beneficiaries. Last year was 84, which to me seems kind of dreadful, considering we have a 29,000 plus wait list. Some people died on the wait list. This year, you're going to be at about 2,600. So from 84 to 2,600, what was the difference maker here that allowed that to happen?
Well, a bunch of things. One, obviously, the funding. Act 279 with the 600 million, that was key. But I think also key was we changed the approach. Rather than doing small projects or doing them in phases where we put the infrastructure, then we bring in another contractor to do the vertical residential or houses, we've combined it all. And more so, we've also expanded the number of units. We've combined parcels. A good example is Ka'ulo, Kahai, and Kapolei. We combined 4 parcels, totaling and generating close to 700 units. And so we also have a developer, in this case Gentry, that's doing the entire thing, not only from doing the infrastructure and the vertical construction, but on top of that, the developer is bringing in financing to do the vertical construction, which may include low-income housing tax credits, bonds, other funding sources. And so that, by doing projects like that, we're able to increase significantly the number of units we can do.
And to kind of clarify here, to be a beneficiary in the Department of Hawaiian Home Lands program, you must have a blood quantum of 50%. Successors must have 25%, subject to ancestry records. The beneficiary owns the structure and has a mortgage, but leases the land from the state at $1 a year for 99 years. The mortgage is lower because it doesn't include the land, but often through the program, the interest rate is reduced, sometimes just 1%. We also toured Hale Mo'ili'ili, which that is a fascinating project, first of its kind. You're going to not just use those as regular housing, you're going to use them as rentals. How is that going to benefit people on the wait list?
Well, right now the funding, which totals about 155 million, was done in such a way that we, by labeling them, as you call them, rentals, we're able to access the 4% low-income housing tax credits, some bonds, as well as a 221D4 federal loan program, including some commercial lending, which included a rental housing revolving fund. And so that particular funding source was able to not only facilitate the financing for that particular large 278, 23-story townhouses, as well as condominiums, but it required it to be rentals. But we've recently got a law change where we can separate the vertical construction from the land, which now allows us to issue homestead leases for the land portion, which thereby separating, but not only taking people off the wait list, but allowing them to pass their interests, which is more as an equity interest rather than just a rental, a lease rent. When you do the separation, it then allows us to turn that project, rather than just being a rental, actually into homesteads.
So they get, I guess, a little bit of equity in it. Is that what you're saying?
They get the equity. They get all the equity.
And that's just until they get a permanent place to live, though, right? That's what this is intended to do. And it doesn't kick in until the low-income housing tax credit or LIHTC compliance period expires, which is 10 years with a 5-year cushion.
Well, yeah, it doesn't kick in, the equity, until that 15-year LIHTC compliance period expires. Actually 10 years, but there's a 5-year cushion. Well, once the 15-year period expires, we expect all of them to convert, because to do otherwise and not access all this equity that's generated just doesn't make sense. So it's really a matter of educating them what are the things that are being transferred by this conversion into home ownership.
And it's important to note, right, this doesn't just benefit those who are beneficiaries or those on the wait list. This benefits kind of everybody, right? There is a housing crisis throughout Hawaii. And when you are putting hundreds of people into Hale Mo'ili'ili or Kapolei or in these subdivisions, you're also helping the rest of the population.
Yeah, because it frees up housing that might otherwise be occupied by these individuals. So I think that's a good thing. So it's good for the community when the whole community, including, more importantly, the Native Hawaiians, are taken care of.
Let's talk about the wait list for a little while. We're at 29,000, more than 29,000 people on the wait list, 11,000 on Oahu. Obviously, we have the highest concentration of people here on Oahu. That's why we have Hale Mo'ili'ili, all of these projects coming up more on Oahu. But other than Oahu, what island or what county are you seeing the biggest need?
Well, the needs are extensive. Granted, most of the population is on Oahu, but on the Big Island we have over 6,000 on our residential wait list. On Maui we have close to 4,000. On Kauai we have 1,700. But let me also point out that that's just a residential wait list. You also have to take a look at our agricultural and pastoral wait lists, which also need to be addressed. So that's why in certain instances where appropriate, we're doing these subsistence ag lots, which not only gives them an ag lot that they can grow their food, raise livestock, but it also gives them the option of putting up a house. So you can combine the two, take them off the residential with the building of the house, and you also have the access to a larger parcel where they now can grow, crops and as well as raise livestock.
Are most of the people on the wait list on the Big Island looking for an ag lot like that?
Yeah, actually, on the Big Island, where we have about 6,000 residential, there's about 7,400 on our agricultural wait list, so it's larger. And then we also have about 2,000 on our pastoral wait list.
The first DHHL subdivision on Maui in 17 years, Pu'uhona has already welcomed its first resident, Jade Mapuana Riley, who moved her family to Arizona 3 years ago. She was priced out of paradise while on the wait list for 38 years. She finally got the call last year and moved into a 5-bedroom home in Pu'uhona. Tell me about that feeling when you do these giveaways.
Well, this is what the job is about. A lot of us were tearing up, and it's just a real positive and wonderful where you have some people that have been waiting prior to statehood, would you believe, and for them to finally get a house, it's just a wonderful situation. It is it's a joyous time, but it's also sad for me because when you have people coming up in wheelchairs or they can't really just have a short period of time to really enjoy this new benefit and a new place to live, it makes the situation even more urgent that we got to get this job moving.
Casey Amoro is another example of that. Her dad died in 2018. He was on the wait list since 1975. Amuro, who qualifies to be a beneficiary, took his place on the list. And we were there when she toured her home under construction. The human resources specialist was just about to leave Maui with her husband and kids when everything just kind of fell into place. And we spoke with her about that.
Before this, we were actually leaving. We were going to go to the mainland because we had to leave where we were, and then after the fires, it was just really hard to get housing, and the cost of housing was just crazy. We looked at buying, and the cost for the mortgage was ridiculous. It's like, okay, let's get 3 jobs then, so we can go have a house. So I told my husband, I was like, it's time. I think it's time we face the facts, and it's time to go.
And where were you going to go?
You know what? I gave him 3 options. So it was Texas, Colorado, and Washington.
Why
So
those 3?
I had jobs. I interviewed. So I secretly didn't tell my husband, and I did interviews and I applied, and I did have offers. Out of the blue, we randomly had someone remind me, like, oh, Pu'uhona's coming up, you know, maybe take your dad's spot, maybe start doing the transfer of the paperwork. My dad didn't get to see this happen, and the least I could do was bring it up and take my right that he gave me. He gave me this, so here we are. And I just got really lucky.
That family has now moved into their new home.
Very nice.
Just a great story. I want to talk now about that first transitional housing shelter for homeless waitlisters. Federal funds were used to complete this Oahu project in Kalaeloa. 40 homeless Hawaiians have been identified as potential occupants. Hawaii News Now reporter Dylan Anchetta was there for the blessing ceremony of the property, which is ready to welcome residents.
Hale o Kumumamu is the first of its kind project in the state. The Department of Hawaiian Home Lands took a former Navy building and retrofitted it, and it now features 18 studio-style units that are aimed at giving transitional housing for homeless Hawaiians. Located in Kalaeloa, the two-story space was blessed Monday and is ready to welcome DHHL beneficiaries facing housing insecurity. Crucial services will also be provided as this complex is in partnership with the nonprofit Kealoha West Oahu. $6.4 million in federal funds paid for this project and its renovations, which began in September of 2024.
We hope that this will be the foundation where families will come and get that solid foundation to get them started in a good way. And then from there, be able to go forward and hopefully get into other homesteading. This is a pathway. This isn't for them to stay here forever, and we help more and more families.
Leaders are set on its success as they now look to replicate this model across the state. Dylan Anchetta, Hawaii News Now.
It's not always an easy job, though, right? It's not just about the feel-good keys being given away. I get some of those emails, so I know you guys hear it as well, too. One of the big issues that people complain about is the whole successor issue. Mm-hmm. You know, beneficiary blood quantum has to be 50%, successor 25%. The beneficiary gets the house, and there are 4 kids. What happens if that beneficiary passes? Who gets the house? How does this get decided amongst the kids?
You know, that's funny you ask about that, because that's the exact situation we had at our last commission meeting. You know, I won't name names, but which is a very, very common situation where the existing lessee passes away or awards it to all the kids, all 4 kids. And so you're going to have certain situations with each individual kid that might not be such that they can either live together or contribute to the cost of maybe the mortgage payment as well as the property taxes. And so maybe you got one contributing more and getting pissed off at the other sibling. And so there's always a challenge in that or those situations. So that just kind of points out to, and we recommend this to a lot of our beneficiaries, including guys getting the paper leases, that you name, and that's your choice, who should get the property. Now, if you can name all 4, then you can. Personally, I think you can run into problems. So you might want to look at and see, well, which one is the best suited to take over, because there's probably, in most times, there's a mortgage that has to be paid. So if you got somebody that is not in a very good financial position to burden them with that mortgage, might not be appropriate. So, this choice, I think, has to be one that has to be thought out. And you also don't want to put your kids in a position where they are automatically going to be fighting with each other. You only can name one to succeed to the application or your place on the wait list. With respect to leases, you can name as many as you want. But there again, if you name them all, that you may run into problems.
What happens in those situations? Because I know you were experiencing that with some of these successors. What is the common pathway then to fix this?
Well, our rules, as well as what we've done historically, is if there's a dispute, we will provide a hearings officer and a contested case hearing where they try to figure out, how can we find a solution. We normally, and we want the families to figure out the solution as a last resort, as well as to kind of approve whatever solution. The commission has that responsibility. But there's a process that they have to go through. And similar in this last commission meeting, we had both in play. One referring it back to the contested case hearing, and the other, the settlement being approved by the commission.
When is the settlement? Could they sell their lease or sell it back to DHHL and take the equity and divide it amongst the kids? Is that one of the options?
They definitely could do that. If they sell it, it just has to be to a native Hawaiian that's 50% and at least 18 years old. A lot of people do that. They sell it and they just split up the proceeds. But it's kind of hard, especially if it's family property. You hate to see it be lost that way. And so some will maybe object to it. We're not really, unlike regular real estate where you can partition the court, have a trustee appointed. With ours, we try to do it through a contested case hearing, and then as a last resort, the commission would take on that. Regarding the surrender, that's an option.
Another question that I got was about the blood quantum.
Mm-hmm.
The 50% for a beneficiary, 25. A lot of people say, the blood is thinning. That may be a little bit too high. In the coming years as you get more people off the wait list. What's your response to that?
Well, we did make a change, which was approved by Congress, where we reduced the blood quantum to 25% for a successor to the homestead lease. And so that involves the spouse, the children, and also the spouse, the children, the brothers and sisters.
So is there any way to lower that again? I mean, you mentioned Congress. This is not something that you can do here in Hawaii, correct?
Well, we've done it. The legislature passed an act reducing it to 1/32. And then that's with the Congress right now. It hasn't been passed, but there is a bill in Congress to do that. And let me just say that if you look at Prince Kuhio, when he first tried to set up this homesteading program, he understood how divisive that 50% could be. So he was looking to trying to make the initial threshold at 1/32. And it was the people that were really trying to prevent the homesteading program or the homesteading of their government lands that they were leasing out, wanted it to be 100%. So as a compromise, they arrived at 50%. But it's clearly was not the intent of the founder of the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act to have this divisive situation. And it has been very divisive, I'm sorry to say.
Explain that. Why has it been so divisive?
Well, you got, like I said, about 29,000 on our wait list. Those are the 50%ers. So they want to be served first. So they don't want to see that list expanded by including the quarter or less than that Hawaiians. Because once you do that, you might have 300 on the wait list. So they understandably want to keep it at 50%. So they're not receptive to opening up to less, at least a threshold amount of 50%.
Okay, and when we were saying about almost 30,000 on the wait list, right? More than 29,000. When I did the math based on your counties and islands, there's still a lot left over. Are those people on the wait list on the continent right now then?
Well, I believe there's about 380,000 on the continent, native Hawaiians that would qualify. What I'm talking about is those that could qualify to get on the wait list. And so our marketing as well as our intent is to bring back to Hawaii a lot of those individuals that not only would love to come to Hawaii, but their problem is affordability of housing. And so that's what we're doing. We're trying to And what we've done is on our orientation, not only do we give the project lease awards after the individual chooses a project, a specific project, but we also tell them once you get that project lease, you are now able immediately actually to then transfer it to your kid that may be 50% or less than, it can be 25%. So that has not only opened it up and protected their legacy, so to speak, but it also is a way of inviting the family members on the mainland that have abandoned Hawaii because they just can't afford a house.
This is a heat map of native Hawaiian DHHL applicants who currently live on the continent. Most are in California, more than 1,000, but you can see there are many more scattered throughout the lower 48 states, and there are another 115 living in Alaska. The majority of beneficiaries are over the age of 60 and have been waiting decades for their names to be called.
Oh my goodness. Very excited. I had a hard time sleeping, but last night I had a great sleep, rested, but the excitement has just been overpowering. And I believe for a person my age, overwhelming. But this is the greatest. I've waited a long time. But this is awesome, great, wonderful, and I feel blessed. Thank you. Mahalo.
This was a long time coming. I waited years for this to happen. And I actually was raised in Hawaiian homes down in Papakalo. And we moved there from the plantation. We moved there in 1963, and then since then, after I got married, we went out and we bought our own place right here up in Pukalani, and then we put our name in for wherever, whatever was going to come out, and then this opportunity came, and when it came, please, take your time. And when it came out, I was so happy to, we waited a long time.
Act 279, which appropriated $600 million a few years ago to DHHL, is also helping the agency find new land. So how's that process going?
And so we're using that Act 279 funds to acquire lands on the Big Island with the Kaumana project. There's also Honoka'a, where we're acquiring lands from a private landowner. But we're also, in conjunction with that, we're working with the Hawaii Public Housing Authority that has lands over there adjacent to the hospital that we're going to do a kupuna housing. So that was a land transfer as well as a land acquisition by purchase. I believe there's nothing in the law that prevents these different state departments from transferring additional lands to satisfy not only the compact that was made with the feds, which required not only the insertion of our Hawaiian Homes Commission into our state constitution, but an obligation under our constitution to help the program, which to me would entail transferring good lands.
So how much more money are you asking for next year or in the coming years to complete a lot of these projects?
Well, we need $6 billion, and there's no way we can get that from this legislature, but it is a continuing obligation. So just like the $600 million, I mean, the first time I was the director, we received there was another $600 million settlement, but that was $30 million a year over a 20-year period. The fortunate thing about this Act 279 that was passed in 2022, it was a lump sum. So that allowed us to do a lot, and that's why we have these 28 projects. We definitely need more money. It's just, our waitlist is not going to go away. It's not, it doesn't stay at 29,000. It keeps growing. And so we're definitely, not only are going to need more money from the legislature, we also need to look for more money from other sources, which is what we're doing.
A lot ahead for the Department of Hawaiian Home Lands. New ideas bringing new hope that even more Hawaiians will finally get keys, that the state will make a dent in that decades-long waitlist, and that those changes will open up more places for all residents to keep more locals home.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kali Watson, and I'm Lynn Kawano. Thanks for joining us.